Success in farming is all about precision and efficiency, ensuring every seed, every drop of water, every nutrient and treatment counts. TerraPlex Ag is helping farmers all over Iowa and the Midwest do just that. With precision ag drone technology and support from TerraPlex, you'll boost your productivity and make timely and informed decisions, all while reducing your costs and increasing your profit. It's time to revolutionize your farming. Harvest the benefits with TerraPlex Ag. Visit TerraPlexAg.com.
Every year, you have a choice. One that says staying independent and family-owned means something on your farm. So plant your independence. Plant Wiffles.
Chris Williams, Brent Blum, from the Wild Rose Casino Studio. It's Williams and Blum, presented by Mechdyne, on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network.
Williams and Blum Wednesday. Welcome to the program. Happy Thanksgiving. Blum's going to be joining me here very soon from Maui. Just got done calling the games. Did a great job. Proud of him. I have a lot of thoughts. This will be a bit of an abbreviated show. We got to let Blum get back to Maui. And frankly, it's almost 7 o'clock here in Central Time Zone. But I thought it was kind of stupid to do the show before the basketball games had come to an end. So, yeah, here we are. I figured you guys would like this, to have this for your trips, going to see some family, whatever you're doing on Thanksgiving Day. Happy Thanksgiving. Thankful for all of you, all the cliche stuff, yada, yada, yada. No, I really am. I hope you don't mind. If you're watching on YouTube, I am having a beer. Having a Westo. I have one of those Westo punk pies. It's good stuff. We are presented, as always, by our friends at Mechdyne, the Mechdyne Corporation. Enabling discovery. Check them out at mechdyne.com. We thank them for their sponsorship of Williams and Blum here on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network. Go out and buy yourself a bottle of Cody Road this Thanksgiving, and we're presented here, as always, in the Wild Rose Casino Studios. Iowa State goes 2-1 in Maui. We will get to all that. Of course, one of the bigger football games in Iowa State history coming up on Saturday night. And we will do our Wiffles Hybrids Big 12 segment and go through all of the games coming up this weekend. Specifically, we will focus on the ones that impact Iowa State. We won't go too far into the rest of this stuff. Again, kind of on a time crunch here tonight. So Iowa State goes 2-1 in Maui. I'll wait to do a lot of this with Blum, but I left actually feeling I leave the Maui Invitational feeling better about Iowa State basketball than I did before. Would have been nice to win, no doubt. It would be great to have that quad one against Auburn in your back pocket. But the reality is 2-1 out there is still very successful. I think you learned a lot about yourself as a team. I learned a lot about Iowa State's bigs, that they can compete with just about anybody. And it was also good to see Auburn just kick the crap out of everybody else that they played. And, Iowa State was the only team in that entire tournament, which was loaded, that competed with those guys. So that is a plus. The Dayton win, I believe, will continue to look better as this season goes along. And I don't know about Colorado. It's possible at the end of the year that could be a quad one win. Helps that they beat UConn the day before. But, I'll take 2-1. We said that on Sunday. The other thing I kind of like is that Lipsy looked healthier on day 3, I thought, than he did on day 1. He's certainly not 100%. I'm not sure if we could ever expect Taman Lipsy to be 100% again. Kind of just feels like that's just who he is. He's kind of dinged up, as they say all the time. But that's okay if you know it. Keyshawn Gilbert has taken his game to another level. It was good to see. I was starting to wonder if Curtis Jones was in that like November slump like he was in last year. That wasn't the case. He ends up having a really good tournament, and Momcilovic goes off in game number 3 for Iowa State to really kind of steal the show in that one. Although, as Ott said after the game, it was that was a team deal. Like, Iowa State just kicked the shit out of that Colorado team, and no ins, ands, or buts about it. Like they were winning that game by 20 at the very least. In any simulation you want to throw out there, Iowa State was a lot better than them. But I liked the vibe of the tournament where, okay, first game sucked, right? Like we all know what happened. Second game, you have to grind it out against an actual like NCAA tournament team. Dayton could be like a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament, okay? So that's a good win. Game 3, game where everybody's expecting you to dominate, and you do. You do. You absolutely crushed that Colorado team and destroyed their will. And, I don't know where they're going to fit in the Big 12, but I do know that will be, at the very least, like a quad 2 win, I think, at the end of the year, based on the schedule Colorado is going to play. And, the fact that they beat UConn is a huge, huge plus because they're going to have that in their back pocket. We're assuming that UConn is going to end up, competing for another second, third weekend in the NCAA tournament. I don't know why we would think differently at this point. So I really don't think Iowa State may drop in the polls a tad, but I don't think much. I'm going to pull up the old KenPom right now. They actually went up today after that Colorado win because it matters how badly you beat teams. So when you beat a team as badly as Iowa State beat Colorado, you're going to see a pretty decent jump. A lot of people are already asking me about the Marquette game and like how do I see Iowa State in that one? Well, I'll tell you right now, you're looking at about a 5 to a 6 point spread. Iowa State will be about a 5 to a 6 point favorite in that Marquette game coming up next Wednesday. And boy, you feel a lot better about that one now after you've seen the competition, right? You've played against really good basketball teams, and now you get to come back home and you get to take on another top 10 team in Marquette. That'll be a hell of a game. That'll be a hell of an atmosphere next Wednesday. I'm already looking forward to it, but we have a lot of football to get to before then, so we'll probably wait to talk about Marquette until, at the very least, Sunday night, because frankly, I haven't seen them play. I haven't done anything on them. We need to, at some capacity, get back to football mode here, although that's hard to do after 3 awesome days in the Maui Invitational. What an event that is. We'll get to Bloom here momentarily. I want to thank a couple of our great sponsors, Gravitate Co-working. Check them out at gravitatecoworking.com today. If you're making plans for 2025, that could be a good option for you. You should also, in your New Year's resolution, get your will done. HopewoodJD.com. Get your will done. Only takes her a day. Very competitive with her pricing. She's done dozens upon dozens of our listeners' wills and loves doing it. Promo code Fanatic will get you $50 off. Last but certainly not least, our friends at the Iowa State University Foundation. Go to MoveWhatMatters.com. Got my little packet in the mail today about charitable gifts towards Iowa State University Foundation for the holiday season. I'm going to bring him in. He looks tan, kind of. He hasn't been home in forever. Brent Blum joins me from Maui. How goes it, my friend? Good call today. I listened to you on Monday, and then I was like, screw that. That was a bad. I'm not kidding. Because I didn't get to listen to the whole first half on Monday, and then I flipped it on. Clones are just killing them, and then if they flipped the script and then I turned it off and I said I'm not listening to the second game, and then I listened to the majority of the game today. You having fun out there?
Yeah, it's been great. By the way, just saw Hope and Jeff Wood at the pool.
Oh,
They're
there you
out
go.
here. Yep, they're here. I said, hey, I'm about to do a podcast with Williams. They said that's going to be the best ad read ever. So Cyclones through and through. I mean, you're really
that worked
Cyclones
out that I literally was like doing their ad read like the second
incredible.
you
I literally
came
said,
on.
hey, I got to go. Like they stopped me on the way up here. I'm like, I got to go. Williams needs me on that wall. So no, it's been great. I mean, what an incredible event. I'm glad Iowa State went 2-1. I mean, I think looking back now, they'll probably stay at about 5 or 6 in the country. And I think today proved what Iowa State can be when it all gets going.
Well,
I mean, that was a really impressive game today.
Brent, I texted somebody, I don't remember who, on Monday night, the first half in that Auburn game. And I know I don't have the historical perspective that you do, and like you're in a lot of the old school guys, but like that was the best half of basketball I've ever seen Iowa State play.
You know what's funny?
There was a 15-minute portion of that half where I don't think I've ever seen Iowa State be better at basketball.
Eric Hepp told me the same thing at halftime.
Okay.
Yeah. He's like,
there we go. So he is the source. So I was not being hyperbolic then.
He's like, I haven't seen an Iowa State team like this ever. I'm like, oh, okay. And then obviously the second half happened. That's the great thing about this, though, is you learn exactly what you need to do to get better. And I thought Iowa State, on a short turnaround today, showed how much better it is offensively. The defense is a work in progress. As TJ told us this morning, he's like, hey, right now our defense is better when our offense is good. We got to make sure our defense is always good. So they know that the first 2 games weren't great defensively, but that's why you play these games. They learned so much from this tournament, and man, this game today and that first half against Auburn proved the ceiling is, in my opinion, as high as it's ever been.
Well, in today's game was especially true with the live ball turnovers turning into points. You know, that's got to be Iowa State's bread and butter with the way that they play. And they just didn't get those and the second half against Auburn, they were non-existent, which is why your field goal percentage cratered. And then it was pretty tough going on in the Dayton game too. I mean, if you go off of that stat, fortunate to win it.
By the way, Dayton's really good in person.
Yeah, they're loaded. They're loaded. They could beat UConn tonight.
What's that spread? I'd be curious on that. I haven't even looked.
But yeah, up right now.
From what I saw in person, I am a big flyer guy going forward. I mean, their guards just give you all sorts of problems, and they were the perfect.
Well, that point guard's one of the best guards we'll see all year.
Yeah, well, and they got 3 of them. And they just kept running at Iowa State. It was actually the worst matchup possible for Iowa State because its guards are big, and they just couldn't keep up with them. So I think Dayton's really good.
UConn is a 7.5 point favorite.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm telling you what to do there.
Yeah. No,
they're good. And I think Colorado looked more like the team that was picked last in the conference today. And the neat part for Iowa State is you saw it both this whole tournament. You know, the guards were really good yesterday with Lipsy and with Gilbert and Jones. But then you also could play a little bully ball with Jackson today. I mean, they were just overwhelmed Colorado with size and physicality, which is again something that Iowa State really had been able to do even in the Hoiberg era.
The other thing that stood out to me, and this is so pedestrian, but the bigs, you know, that was our big thing going into the Auburn game. We just didn't know because we hadn't seen these guys go up against real competition.
Yep.
But the Auburn game, to me, Brent, and I'd be interested to get your perspective being there, I'm expecting Auburn to just be these defensive tackles playing against just, you know, what I traditionally think of with Iowa State. And holy crap, like Iowa State was like Pete Link has done a hell of a job with the weight room work, with the returners, with Milan, with Keyshawn. Like these guys are so much more bulked up. And then the big guys just looked the part. Like they did not I thought Jefferson, in my opinion, a little bit too big for his britches in the second half. He hit those threes. He probably got out of what he should be doing just a smidge, but it's okay. I'm okay with it because he came back and he has a big game for you the following night. You got to learn. But no, they just like physically they're just there, and in the big guys on Iowa State's roster the last 3 years have been skinny or undersized or whatever. Like, they all had their little quirks. Like, these dudes belong.
Yeah. I think, from seeing 8 high-end teams this week in Maui, physically Iowa State looks as much the part as any of them. And I'm talking Auburn, Connecticut, North Carolina. Now, they've got dudes too. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
But Iowa State's right there. I mean, I think great point on Keyshawn. He's added 15, 20 pounds. There were times where Dayton couldn't stay in front of him, and today was more of a playmaker, which was great. I mean, Taman bullied people a couple of times today. I just really think this Iowa State team, its ceiling is so much higher than even last year. And Iowa State went to a Sweet 16. It was so good last year.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got a long way to go defensively. TJ said that as much last night. It's like, we are not good defensively yet. It was a nice step in the right direction. And I think it's more a matter of just
it's rotations in the interior.
Yeah.
That's what
just
I
think
saw.
about and like Hassan and Rob and Trey were there for 2.5 years, all of them.
Yeah.
It just takes a little bit. Iowa State got exposed on a lot of ball screen stuff in those first 2 games.
Heisey got lost a couple of times in big moments, and that's a guy who's going to learn fast.
Between him and Chatfield, their growth from even the non-conference games against the Slappies to today, and I'm going to go, Nate's never going to be a guy that's going to put up 20 points in a game. Like, I think people have this misconception that he's going to be this prolific scorer. It's not. What he adds, though, is a ball mover, a really solid defensive player, and a glue guy. And he's struggling right now, or at least entering this tournament of what's my role? Like, how do I fit in to make the biggest impact? You don't need him to shoot a lot. You just don't. You got good guys that can shoot. And I thought today both him and Chatfield made a monster difference, even though they didn't score a bunch of points. And that's exactly how Iowa State's going to get better the rest of the year.
I thought Heisey, too, he just needed to hit a shot.
Yes.
And he finally did. He had that huge offensive rebound against Dayton that damn near won Iowa State the game, right?
Yep.
Like, at that point. So he took strides, really good minutes. I thought Noyes was really good.
Yes, totally agree.
I also thought, love your perspective on Taman. He looked hurt against Auburn. Like, he didn't even look like the guy from last year. And then he got better, I thought. He didn't play as much against Dayton because he gets into foul trouble. And then today, he finally kind of looked like himself again. Is he – I don't think he's hurt or injured because I don't think they'd be playing him because it's so early. Is it because he didn't play much this summer? Is he just out of shape? Like, what do you think it is there?
I think that is it. I think he didn't play a lot this summer. He did get banged up a bit in practice. I mean, I would say practice is hard. And it wasn't an injury that it was like, okay, he's done for the year type of thing. It was one of those things where, yeah, he's not 100% healthy, but he's healthy enough that he can make an impact. And I think it has affected his confidence enough because he hasn't been in the swing of things from the summer on thanks to his surgery. So it's taken him a little bit. And when you're playing high-end guards like Auburn and Dayton have, you get exposed. And I thought today he took a major step forward. I had a conversation last night. I'm like, hey, everyone's like, what's going on with Taman? And they're like, he'll get there. Like, they trust in him so much. And he impacts the game so much more than beyond just the three-point shot. I would love to see him make a few more of those. And even the free throws, people are getting on him on Monday and Tuesday. It's like he's still shooting 80% on the year from the free throw line. So I think Taman is going to be okay. But today, man, he had to be so – you could tell during the courtside there, he just had a different look on him of, okay, I still got it. I think all of us, right? You have a bad couple of days, no matter what it is in your profession. You're like, man, I need to get some confidence back. And today really provided that. I expect to see Taman be the same old Taman going forward.
Yeah, that's good. That was my big fear after
and it's
Monday
not
night.
Because I got a bunch of texts like, is something wrong with him? Like, no, I mean, he is banged up a little bit, but nothing out of the ordinary that you.
He's always banged up. Like, and I don't think he's ever going to be like 100%, right?
And I think what he has to learn, which is great, this is a good thing. He doesn't need to push offense as much as he did even a year ago. I mean, the development of Curtis Jones and Keyshawn Gilbert is unbelievable. You saw Momcilovic today. Like, honestly, Taman with those bigs now, maybe option 5, 6, and 7, on the offensive side.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need him to do what he did the last 2 years. And I think and that's same with Heisey. I would say put Taman and Heisey in the same category of both those guys saying, hey, we don't need to be, point scorers here, but how do we fit in to make the team better? And I thought today was the first time all year you saw what this whole thing could look like. And I would put if Milan's like that, Iowa State's going to be really hard to guard. I mean, he had a different level today, and that really unlocked the rest of the guys for Iowa State.
The other question I had, and I didn't know if TJ commented on this after the game. This is pretty nuts and bolts stuff for the radio team to even address, but what the defensive rotations at the end of the game against Auburn and Dayton, I thought were really interesting, because he was rolling with Heisey a lot.
Yep.
Chatfield was out there a lot, and you didn't see Momcilovic much in those spots. Was that? Because this was my interpretation of it, and Rob Gray agreed with me when we did our post game. Was that him saying, "Damn it, we need stops," and then give the ball to Keyshawn and go?
Yeah.
Is that what that was? Because
I mean,
that's how I interpreted what was going on there.
I didn't ask him. I think Iowa State knew the way Curtis and Keyshawn were playing, offense was going to be fine. Like they were getting whatever they wanted. I mean, look at the point total. I mean, that just tells you. And points per possession, both those games were great, even though Milan didn't give you a whole lot. And then so Heisey's a really good defender, and still Momcilovic was great today. He still struggles at times with super athletic wings to defend on the perimeter. And Dayton had they were tiny. They were little. Like you almost needed a littler guy to stay in front of them because they were trying to expose Iowa State with quickness and speed. And Iowa State's bigger this year. There's no look at them.
There's so many more
different.
options.
Yeah, they're different. So I think Iowa State literally had to play small ball to keep up with them, and that's why Heisey was in there. I think everyone wants to make referendums on, hey, look at the rotations in game 5 and 6. It's like
no,
it's a constant adjustment process here.
If you listen to that pod I did with Otts a couple months ago, he said this would be the case. He said that they are going to play so many different rotations early because they need to figure this thing out. The other point go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I would say even like Chatfield's a good example of the first 3 games, he couldn't make a layup against the bad teams.
Yeah.
In terms of like, what's up with this guy? But then you saw him in this tournament. It was like, that's why they got the guy. Like a huge physical presence.
He's a dog.
Great defense, rebounded everything, sets big screens. And that's why it's still a work in progress. This team, yes, they got together in June and they've been practicing all summer. But you don't know what you have in big moments until games like this. So even though Iowa State lost a game, I came away, C-Dub, from this tournament much higher in Iowa State than I came in.
I did too. I did too, dude. I couldn't agree with you more. Last point I would make on this tournament in general is that we've seen really every year in the Otts regime, like in mid to late February, where you start to panic and you're like, they're out of gas. And there's something to it of how hard they play, the expectations that they have on defense. What was the Jay Billis quote today? He said, when you prepare to play Iowa State, you don't prepare to play basketball, you prepare for a fist fight. Right? And like it's a long season to do that day in and day out. When I'm looking up and down at the minutes from this weekend, I'm looking at 25 guys who normally play 35 are playing 25. Guys who normally play 38 are playing 31. And I do think that will benefit this team in February. Do you
agree?
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. Yeah, I mean and just the depth alone in the front court allows Iowa, because what we saw today I thought was actually super fascinating. Colorado, to me, C-Dub, looked like a Hoiberg-era team. I mean, they had some taller guys, but very slender. And Iowa State just bullied them, like completely dominated physicality-wise. We can't say – we have never in the last – since Pfizer had not been able to say that about an Iowa State front court. And that just wears on teams. So as Iowa State gets along in the season, the way to rotate bodies, and even the other thing that Eric brought up, and Eric Hepp's really good, clearly, you can afford to have Taman Lipsey have a poor game or Curtis Jones to have a poor game because you got other people to step up. And that ability to just turn to guys 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, if your top 2 aren't going, it's just super. Like, just think about even that team, the Gabe Kalsher teams, right? Like, he had to be good or else Iowa State was really going to struggle. And how much different it is now.
Oh, my God. It was just like you just prayed one of those guys could make a shot that day.
And this year, you can go inside and go outside. And even Iowa State didn't shoot it great against Dayton and still scored 89 on a good defensive team.
All right. Let's move on to football. I think we're good on the basketball thing. I told the audience that this would be a shorter show today. I want to thank our other sponsors, Kelderman Manufacturing, Kelderman.com. Appreciate you, Jeff and Mark Steck and that entire team and the support that they give us here at Cyclone Fanatic. Also, our friends at Game Day Men's Health. It's a good thing you're on that tee, Bloom, with all the traveling you've been doing.
Yeah.
It's a very, very good thing. No, they so I've been working out, and I've got tennis elbow. You know what that is? It's like tendonitis in your elbow, and it hurts. Like it's just stiff all the time. And they've been doing this like massage gun that gives me it like electro shocks your muscles and like loosens everything up. So they do more than just the testosterone replacement therapy. Check out everything that they do at Game Day Men's Health. I go to the one in Ankeny. There's also one in West Des Moines and North Liberty. Let's do our Wiffles Hybrids Big 12 segment. Massive weekend of Big 12 football. Plant your independence. Plant Wiffles. Plant your butt on the couch on Friday because I need you out at Jack Trice Stadium on Saturday night.
That's right.
Do have a couple of games on Friday. We're not going to spend too much time on these. Oklahoma State at Colorado. Now, that does have implications on Iowa State. I mean, are we going as far as we're rooting against Colorado? Like, do we just want all these teams to lose, Brent, or how are you approaching this?
I'm going to be pretty simple. Hey, just win the game against K-State.
Win the game. Go 10-2.
I'm not wasting my energy on these other games on Friday. It's like that game.
Yeah, okay.
If you get to 10-2, I don't know the exact number. I mean, somebody smarter than me could figure that out, but it's got to be like 95% at a minimum that you're going to get in.
You're just praying that Willie Fritz doesn't get you.
Well, correct. But if I will expend my energy after we win, I'll be feeling good.
Yeah.
A couple of Ames loggers in hand, and then I'll watch that game. But I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time on Friday except rooting for the Huskers.
All right, Kansas at Baylor is interesting. Like, that's a really good game.
Yes.
Maybe the teams that are playing the best in the conference right now. Would you agree with that?
I agree. I think, and ultimately, I wouldn't want to play either of those teams right now if I'm in the top four. And clearly, Kansas has made everybody pay right now.
Yeah. Kansas, a 1.5-point favorite there. I guess we should probably root for West Virginia against Texas Tech. That's also 11 o'clock game. Texas Tech, a 3-point favorite in that one. We both circled this on Sunday. Arizona State at Arizona. 2:30 kick. Arizona State is an 8.5-point favorite in this game. This one, listen, Arizona has been a massive disappointment to, I just read that book. Arizona's one of the featured programs in it, and the amount of like NIL money they spent to bring like their quarterback and wide receiver back and all this stuff, like they were all in to keep these guys, and they've been horrible. Like they've just been horrible. Like this is the one last thing that could save their season in any way, shape, or form would be to knock Arizona State out of the Big 12 championship game. This is we see weird things happen in this conference every week. This is the one I'm keeping an eye on.
I 100% on board. And Arizona State has a nice secondary. It's not great.
Nope.
So that, McMillan, Fertitta, whatever, they're going to give me issues. Like I honestly, this is in Tucson, right?
Yeah. And it's like going to be a good crowd too. I looked at the tickets earlier.
The 8.5 is way too much. I'm just putting it that way. Way too much. I think Arizona might win the game outright. I really do. And I don't know if I want that or not because there's a tiebreaker thing there. But I agree. I'm circling this one for sure.
Okay, we're on the same page there. The other game that impacts Iowa State is BYU and Houston. And BYU's a 13-point favorite in that one. The number on that game is 41.5. I wouldn't bet your paycheck on BYU to cover that spread against Houston.
I'm nervous. I'm already nervous about that game. I'm not going to think about it.
I could see Houston winning the game.
Totally agree. So I'm going to worry about the game in Ames, and then I will worry about that one after the game.
So this is a unequivocally terrible matchup for Iowa State against Kansas State defensively. I do think Iowa State's offense is going to be able to get theirs.
Totally agree.
And I also wonder, been studying Avery Johnson just a little bit, I wonder if Iowa State doesn't even have to be like good against the run defensively, just be okay. And he'll throw you a couple jump balls.
No question. I think again, not to oversimplify it, first down is huge. If they're in 2nd and 2,
Well,
2nd and 3, then you're
if
going to
I'm them, I'm doing quarterback power, that type of stuff all the time at Iowa State on first down.
Yes, and the problem with them is it's not just Johnson. Giddens is a great back too.
Oh yeah, they're good,
and
like,
they've moved.
Do you think when they're? I think when they're playing their best, they're the best team in the league. The problem is they're so inconsistent. Like, you don't know what you're going to get. I think it'd be a maddening year to be a Kansas State fan.
And he's still a young pup quarterback. But you're right. I think, again, just like we talked about the basketball team for Iowa State's ceiling, I think K-State's ceiling is still super high, really high.
I do too.
And so if they play an A-plus game, it's going to be hard for Iowa State just because of the matchup difficulties. However, give me John Haycock to slow him down enough to put enough question marks in the mind of Kleiman and company that they have to throw it. And if I'm going to put this number right here, okay? If Avery throws it 23 or more times, Iowa State wins the game.
Okay.
23, like the Michael Jordan number.
On that same note, my read is that offense needs to be more efficient early on in football games.
Totally.
Especially in this one. This just screams low possession.
Yep. And you just can't do what you'd have done in the past and get behind.
Yeah.
I thought actually,
And same deal, like, don't settle for field goals. I almost feel like Matt's out of that. Like, I think if it's 4th and 2 on the 7, they're just going to go for it.
That wasn't talked about enough this week. I thought Iowa State's aggressiveness, play calling, and just down and distance was great. Saturday.
Yeah, I did too. I thought that, but the problem was that they just had all the screw ups that it kind of overshadowed it. But I thought that their game plan all day was aggressive, and they were just the aggressor in that football game. And
what was interesting, I'm curious on Saturday, Iowa State went to that toss play a lot with Hansen.
Yeah,
that kind of. Somebody, a smart football person told me this week, it freezes your linebackers enough that it opens up some of the pass game too, because your worry is what's going to go on there. And that halfback pass was a huge thing. I mean, going forward, Iowa State added another dimension. And I agree, like you talked about earlier, to start this conversation. If you have Higgins and Knoll and Rocco, I think Iowa State's going to score some points. I really do. And it's just a matter of, can the defense hold up enough to stop them on first down, to make it more like 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9, rather than 2nd and 2. I think you're going to know pretty quickly, what Iowa State's philosophy is, and you might get Singleton back too, which would really help stop the run.
Is that actually the case? Like, I heard Campbell say that. Like, I called bullshit on that immediately. That would be huge. If they could get him back, God, that would be huge.
I don't know everything, but I don't, as many times as we don't trust Matt Campbell, I think on this one, I think JR might play.
Well, you would know better than me. I hope so. And I would also say that if you're going to play a guy who, is cleared, but maybe, like, this is the week you play them. Like, you put your chips all in. Because that happens in this game all the time, where they're medically cleared, but you're wanting to save them. Like, it'd be better to have them at 90% in 2 weeks than 60% now. Like, put everybody out there.
This is one of those games. Great point. It's just like, I think Matt, honestly, is like those guys he mentioned this week. This is an all cards on the table game. If you can kind of go, you're going to go, as long as you have enough games to protect your medical for some of the guys. But yeah, I think absolutely. Like, everyone gave Matt a hard time yesterday in the press conference. Like, no, he's serious. Like, these guys might play, depending if you're available. You're going to get out there, and I think JR very likely could play.
That'd be great.
Beyond that, Dom Orange has to be the Dom Orange from the last 2 weeks and not the first.
He was so good.
Yeah, he's just been a difference. Why has the Iowa State defense gotten better? Because he has played, and he is complete a game wrecker in there, and so need 95 to be really good.
And just watch. I mean, I don't expect all the fans that are watching tape and slowing it down the way we do and stuff, but Dom, I'm serious. He was like Ray Lima on steroids last week. Taking on 2 dudes and not taking them on, disrupting them. Ray would take them on, right? Isaiah Lee would do that. He would
just stop them. But
Dom was moving 2 dudes at a time, 75% of the time. We have never seen that. I haven't, at least in an Iowa State uniform.
He has played with a different level than we've seen in a long time the last 2 weeks, and you need him to keep it up. and Dom's got it in him. Like, there's no question. So hopefully, whatever happened the couple weeks before that, he has figured it out. And now it's like, I'm telling you guys, like I said Sunday, he's a first or second round draft pick. If he plays like that every single down, look out. And they need him on Saturday.
Well, I'm in my flannel and a sweater over at Bloom is in his cabana wear.
So my wife just
having a beer?
She brought me a margarita.
God bless you.
Can I drink it?
Yeah, I'm having a Westo punked pie right now.
Does it have alcohol in it? Oh, yeah. It's got alcohol in it, so it's good.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then you guys are coming back on Thanksgiving Day. Is that the Bloom?
Yeah,
plan,
so
or?
we're with the team. I mean, it just kind of worked out this way because they didn't know where they were going to play. And so Iowa State won't fly out.
If Iowa State would have lost on Tuesday night, that would have been a disaster. That game would have tipped at 11 o'clock on Iowa time tonight.
I am like that game. I've never been more motivated for Iowa State to win a game just so actually I can go to dinner tonight and, have a Mai Tai.
The old kiss your sister game, the play
against Connecticut.
Place.
Against Connecticut.
Wouldn't that have been, like I was saying this earlier,
crazy.
Dayton, Connecticut playing for last place is insane. Like, it's truly insane.
I mean,
and by the way, too, I don't know how much you've been paying attention. The Big 12 is going to be good this year. I don't know if you knew.
Yeah. Well,
West Virginia beat Gonzaga today.
Yeah. I told Heft, I'm like, hey, West Virginia's going to beat Gonzaga. He's like, what? He's like, those guys are horrible. Like, no, they're going to beat Gonzaga. So
they weren't horrible today. I watched the majority of that second half because it was run right after our game, and yeah, it was really good. Kansas beat Duke. Houston, nobody should be worried about. They had a little hiccup against Alabama, but then you had Colorado beating UConn. Right? Like, I mean, really, really good stuff from the league.
Yeah.
Which I'm watching closely because it's just like there is an aspect of this. Last comment, and then I'm going to let you get to your wife there in that hotel room. Sorry, I didn't say that. I didn't mean it like that. I see her walking around in the background. It does matter, though. Like, this is when the perception is made of these leagues, and everybody's looking to prove that the Big 12 is not as good as it says it is.
Yep.
And there's also an aspect with this many teams, it's impossible for your metrics to stay as high as they have been. So, like, these games really, really matter to the league.
And we talked about it in July and August about the Big 12 football-wise, needing to have West Virginia beat Penn State.
Yep.
Needing to have I mean, trying to think of some of those games. Iowa State did its part, but a lot of the other teams didn't. And they're paying for it right now.
Yeah, I mean, everybody
paying for it.
Matt Van Winkle asked me the other day to do an entire CW pod on how the Big 12 can change its perception. And I'll tell you how. You need to win.
You need to win.
And it goes back to Texas never living up to its hype in this league. It goes back to when Baker Mayfield, when they would get into the playoff with Oklahoma, they just couldn't. Yeah. And then it goes back to TCU getting killed by Georgia. Like,
100%.
This is a decade-long thing. This is not just the new Big 12. I would have loved to have seen Leach and Bryles and those teams play in a playoff because I think that their offenses were good enough where it would have been really interesting to put them up against. But the problem is the die has been cast on this league. The only way you're going to change it is if you get a 12 seed in the playoff and you go in and win at the 5. Like, that will open some eyes. But until you start doing these things, West Virginia beating Penn State, there's a million examples. Like, it's not going to change.
And the issue is, though, you're already behind the 8 ball because you're going to have one team in compared to their 5.
Correct.
Right?
You're screwed. So it's really, really hard.
It's just, like, thank you for bringing that up because, honestly, Texas and Oklahoma are partly at fault for this whole thing.
It's quite ironic. Actually, if Texas would have not been shit for a decade in this league, everybody would probably think differently now. If Baker and Oklahoma can hold on and beat Georgia that one year, right? Like, they probably would have won the national. They maybe would have won the national title, right? Like, it's so deep rooted. And this is why all these Iowa State fans were getting so pissed off at me 2 months ago when I'm like, guys, it's not a 2-bid league. They're not, because the perception is all that matters.
And all you need to know is watch the rankings on Tuesday. And it's upsetting, but the only way to fix it, C-Dub, is you just got to win.
You have to win.
you're at a disadvantage because you're only going to have one team again compared to their
And I'll
4 and
tell
5.
You look
still
at it
gotta
right
win.
now, like almost the best case scenario. I mean, maybe if somebody loses, the Big 12 could still get a bye. It's possible. I think it's doubtful, but it's possible.
Which is
And
it's like the fact that boys. I'm not doing it right now.
It was a 12 seed Arizona State at Ohio State in the opening round is like a 18-point underdog. Like that's all you need to know.
What would Iowa State be against Ohio State right now?
It'd be better than that. I know
Yeah.
that. You want me to
It's
look it
probably
up?
closer to-
I
probably
can tell
10
you.
or 12. 10 or 12, I would guess, just off the top of my head.
I could tell you that right
This
now.
isn't guess the point spreads, but it's close enough.
Okay, so
Hey.
Iowa State's at 20. Ohio State is it'd be about the same.
18?
Yep. Iowa State and Arizona State are, it would be about 14.5. Iowa State's 3 points better than Arizona State.
The unfortunate part is, because we're trying to figure out a bowl planning and playoff stuff.
We will have if it's Alamo or better, Cyclone Fanatic and we'll have a trip to benefit student athletes.
So please, by the way, keep that in mind. Like, don't, because your other stuff's going to come out, but hey.
Yes.
Right here, right now.
We need a kicker.
We do need a kicker. Well, we got a good one, but we need to keep it.
We have a good. That's just my saying.
We need what seniors are graduating?
We need a wide receiver.
Thank you.
We need about 4 wide receivers to make up for Jalen and Jaden's production.
So how do we fix that? We go to WeWillCollective.com. But no, you're right though. You could play on the road even as a conference champion at Ohio State. And it's probably where Iowa State's going to end up. You're probably that 11 or the 12.
God, that'd be a thing for Campbell, wouldn't it?
Well, and again, you're making the playoff. Like, I'm not going to complain about it. If Iowa State makes the playoff, like, I'm going to be a happy camper. It's just unfortunate that because of the reputation of the Big 12, you don't get that bye because Boise State's going to get it.
Boise State's getting the bye. I am firmly and then the Tulane thing is just like
yep.
And this is what pisses me off about it is it has me thinking all these negative thoughts about Tulane and Boise, and I'm not upset with
It's not their fault.
No,
not their fault.
Like this is not, but it's got me like so jaded. If the ACC somehow gets 3, which is one of the projections, I will break something. Like I might even get arrested. I might assault somebody just randomly. If the ACC freaking C gets 3, that I don't think that they will, but it is a possibility. If Clemson beats South Carolina, if there's an upset or 2, that SMU, Miami, and Clemson would all 3 get in. That is a very real possibility.
The crazy part is, I think the winner of the Clemson South Carolina game is going to get in. I know you're a big cock guy.
I am, but it's also just the. Hopefully, South Carolina takes care of business because I would rather the SEC get 5 than the ACC get 3.
Because then they get the reputation of
right. You know, I don't know, and I don't even think Clemson's that good. I think South Carolina will beat them. So
and it's at Clemson, right?
It's at Clemson.
Yeah,
that'll be tough. I mean, that's a coin toss game.
What a world. But yeah, you're dead on. This is not a this year problem for the Big 12. It's a decade-long problem, all because of Oklahoma. Oklahoma and Texas continue to be the gift that keeps on giving to the Big 12 in a negative way.
Get out of here. Go back to the pool. Thank you for taking some time.
Aloha, is that what you say?
Aloha.
Mahalo? Mahalo?
How many times have you gotten laid since you've been there?
Just when I arrived.
Oh, that's the only time you got laid?
Yeah, I only got one of them.
Really?
Where is my lay?
I figured that they did it more often. Like, I figure you got laid all the time when you go to Hawaii.
I thought I would. I mean, that's why you go to Hawaii, right?
I thought you just walk in that room, bam, laid.
It's a reason you go to Hawaii, not Minneapolis. Well, here we go.
Oh, Crystal looks lovely in her Hawaiian dress.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, she said it's a bad angle. It's not a great angle. But yeah, here we go. Did you buy this?
It's a cyclone lay.
You like that?
It's like fabric that you make a scarf out of.
That's lovely.
Yeah, right. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Keep doing the Lord's work. You need me to go and check on them dogs again?
Yes, actually.
Okay.
Please do. Thank you.
I'll take Frank on a walk.
Thank you, brother. Hey, cheers, everybody. We'll see you in Jack Trice on Saturday.
Yeah, we'll see you Saturday night. Appreciate you. Brent Blum right there. Kick him out of here. It was nice of him to take a few minutes as it's a crazy time of year for everybody. we are presented, as always, by Mechdyne. We are signing off from the Wild Rose Casino Studios. I hope you all enjoyed it. A little Thanksgiving episode. Enjoy. Iowa State women taking on South Carolina Thanksgiving Day. Pregame with Chelsea Poppins and Leah Nelson. My name is Chris Williams. I appreciate you all very much. I'm indeed very thankful for all of you. Please like, subscribe, review, do all that good stuff. And remember the Cyclone Fanatic shop for your holiday shopping needs. Have a great one. We will be back on Sunday night with Williams and Bloom.